Nithyananda, this is the smiling sannyasi, Manikya Chitambara Nanda. So today I will be talking to you on a topic that again is something that I have struggled with and something that I hope my sharing maybe sheds some light for you watching and maybe helps you, assists you and gives you a breakthrough. So one thing that I would do a lot, which I was very unconscious of before finding Swamiji, is something which he terms as self-denial. So the word speaks for itself. So denying yourself an opportunity to even try doing something, engaging in something, as a result of your own self-doubt and self-hatred. So Swamiji beautifully describes that self-denial is the culmination of our doubt and our self-hatred. So for example, you start playing a game of chess and it's the first time you ever try playing a game of chess. So in that first attempt, you might not be successful in winning the game. You might lose that game. You won't have any doubt in trying again. But after repeated failings of trying to play the game of chess, so continually trying and then continually failing, you might start doubting in your ability to play that game at all. After many repeated failings, that self-doubt then culminates into self-hatred, where we start feeling like, oh gosh, you're not as smart as others. These labels start coming into play. You're not as smart as others, you're useless at the game, you've never won, you can never win. These kinds of labels, these kinds of thought currents start running through our head. As a result of these thought currents, there comes a point where if someone were to approach us and ask us to play a game with them, we won't even give ourselves an opportunity to try. We have formed a belief, or let me just wait for this loud van to pass. Alright, so we've created a belief about ourselves and about life where now if someone were to approach us and ask us to play the game, we won't give ourselves an opportunity to try. We believe that we cannot play, or that if we do play, we'll fail. So this is how self-denial comes into our frame of thinking and how we behave with ourselves, life, and others. So this was something that I did a lot in my life. I denied myself many opportunities because of the belief that I can't, or it's too difficult, or it's not possible for me. So, and again, these were very unconscious, right? So it wasn't until I went and attended Inner Awakening with Swamiji that I understood that life is giving me constant opportunities. And in fact, every single moment has infinite possibilities within it. Every single moment is fresh, new, and alive. But because of my thinking and my beliefs, I'm framing it and collapsing all of those infinite possibilities into a singular reality. My reality being that I'm useless, or I can't do this, or it's not possible for me. Basically a lot of all of these infinite possibilities becoming my own beliefs of multiple numerous impossibilities. And as a result of that, naturally, I had a lot of self-confidence issues, found it very difficult to engage with life, was always very quiet. If I could avoid speaking to people, I would avoid speaking because I didn't believe I had anything worthy of saying and sharing. And even if I did, I would make a fool of myself, I'd make mistakes. So all of these thought currents were running through my head. And I tell you, it was a huge relief when I understood that because I created these beliefs myself, I can undo them. So that first taste of reclaiming my sense of power came from inner awakening and doing a lot of this inner work of saying, okay, if I believe this about myself, it hasn't come from the sky. This belief hasn't landed in my lap from nowhere. It's come from somewhere. So if I've created it, how have I done that? So basically retracing the steps of what are all the incidents that have happened in my life that have made me believe this about myself. And the liberating thing is that, see, one incident can happen, right? See, I could be walking through this beautiful campus and someone might throw a bottle at me. Every person will have different ways of dealing with that situation, right? So it doesn't have to be dealt with powerlessness, and it doesn't have to be dealt with victimhood, feeling like life is attacking me for a reason. There's something wrong with me for this to have happened to me. No, it could have happened to anyone. But it's how do we deal with that? How do we internalize that? And how do we process that and then move beyond that? So this is where those that really struggle with, so obviously self-denial, these feelings of victimhood, that life is impossible for me. This is where doing this kind of inner work that actually comes from, see, Swamiji, my amazing guru, Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda, it's nothing that he himself has created actually. So these techniques that we're taught in this Adinam when you come and attend programs, they actually come from our ancient Hindu scriptures. So these are the oldest scriptures known to man. So in the Shiva Sutras, this particular technique, which is actually a science, which leads you to enlightenment itself, which is known as the science of completion. And I think if you've ever seen any video of any of us sannyasis or adinavasis from here, you would have heard the word completion many, many, many times. So this is an actual science which leads you to the state of completion, feeling fulfilled, knowing that nothing can violate you, nothing can add to you, is given by Sadashiva himself to his consort Devi in the Shiva Sutras. And Swamiji has many, many, many satsangs from many years back where he describes about many of the techniques given by Shiva to Devi for her to reach the enlightenment space and state and radiate that. So one other thing I wanted to mention about self-denial. See, I mentioned that every moment is fresh and alive with infinite possibilities. So in the book Living Enlightenment, Swamiji actually explains that what we do is we link thoughts in a linear way. So if you were to actually sit down and pen down all of your thoughts in a span of about 10 minutes and read back on those thoughts, you would see that there's no actual logical sequence to your thinking. It might seem that way initially, like one thought may lead to another thought, but they're quite random. So our thoughts are, he describes them as bubbles in a fish tank. So they're not really linear or connected, but what we tend to do is our minds, not that we do it, consciously, it's very much unconscious. Our mind creates stories. So we link certain incidents, we link certain thoughts together, and we create what is known as either a pain shaft or a joy shaft. So painful situations, we link them together and make a logical conclusion, either come to some kind of an assumption or conclusion about these unrelated events, such as like all of these incidents in playing a game of chess. If someone were to come up to me now and ask me to play a game of chess, it is a fresh moment. It's not, see, my mind will frame that it's more likely that I'll fail if I failed before, but it's not actually true. It's not truth, it's not reality. But because I'm believing that, it's framing it into a reality. So these pain shafts and these joy shafts will either try and avoid painful situations or will try and elongate pleasurable situations. Neither are actually true. They're just like, how can I say this? They're stories that our mind creates and links up. So that's what inner awakening has helped me unravel and come to an understanding of, is that I'm creating these stories, I'm creating these assumptions, I'm creating these conclusions, and for each individual person, they'll be creating their own stories and their own conclusions. So we're all virtually walking around with our own little messes in our heads, which they have no basis of reality except within us. So I often, contemplate how beautiful it would be if we could all be free of that junk, if we could all live in the moment, every single moment, free of any mental framing, which is what Swamiji ultimately wants for all of humanity, is stepping away from the insanity from the mind and living as enlightened beings. So I often contemplate on how beautiful it would be having many, many enlightened beings, all of us walking around, understanding that we have this fountain of joy within us, and we don't have to be powerless, and we don't have to project any of this mental rubbish on us and others. So I encourage everyone to do the inner work. Don't necessarily listen to your stories. Question them. Start going beyond them. Start finding where have you created these beliefs, because they haven't come from it. You weren't born with them, basically, right? They haven't landed on you somehow, just like that. And the best way to do that is through inner awakening or science of inner awakening, which you can do online wherever you are. And there's so many of these satsangs you can watch freely online, where you can just, if you have that patience and if you have that ferociousness to go and look within, you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. And I definitely encourage you to, because it's given me a lot of understanding, a lot of completion, and tremendous amount of healing. And it's not something that stops with me. It's obviously something that I can then share with others. Like I have my family and my friends, and obviously you today. So with that being said, thank you for listening, and I wish you all happy healing and breaking any self-denial patterns that you may have. So see you all again soon. Nithyanandam.